This afternoon, Russia vetoed a UN Security Council resolution condemning last week's chemical weapons attack in Syria and urging an investigation. That vote, was not unexpected. China, though, abstained, a vote that drew praise from President Trump. Let's get more now on President Trump's joint press conference with the NATO Secretary General. Correspondent Kevin Corke is live on the North Lawn. He was there. Good evening, Kevin.
Hey there, Brett. You're right. He once called NATO obsolete. Remember that as candidate Trump? Well, now the president says NATO is important. In fact, calling them an essential part of the security bulwark in Eastern Europe, in particular against enemy forces. The president talking about that in that wide-ranging news conference today with the NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg. He also talked about Russia specifically, saying relations are at a low point. He also suggested it was possible but unlikely the Russians knew about that Syrian gas attack by the Assad government before it happened. Now, all those comments coming with international unrest abroad and, believe it or not, quite a few rumblings at home inside the White House. On a day when Secretary of State Rex Tillerson met with his Russian counterpart amid the ongoing dispute with the Kremlin over Syria, chemical weapons, and election meddling, the Trump administration was facing a different type of friction back at home. Disruptive, high-level staff bickering, threatening to undermine the direction of the Trump agenda. The kind that could cost Chief Strategist Steve Bannon his role within the president's inner circle. Asked by the New York Post if he still had confidence in Bannon, the president didn't exactly offer a ringing endorsement, saying only, quote, "I like Steve, but you have to remember he was not involved in my campaign until very late. I had already beaten all the senators and all the governors, and I didn't know Steve. I'm my own strategist. And it wasn't like I was going to change strategies because I was facing crooked Hillary."
I can run a little hot on occasions.
Long thought to have the president's ear during pivotal policy discussions, Bannon seems to have increasingly become marginalized, thanks in part to his high-profile policy setbacks, including the temporary immigrant ban, which is tied up in the courts, and the health care overhaul, which is yet to take flight. It was Bannon, after all, who ruffled the feathers of the Freedom Caucus during the negotiations. That and forceful disagreements with the president's son-in-law and fellow advisor Jared Kushner. Asked about the latter, the president said he'd had it with the infighting, adding, quote, "Steve is a good guy, but I told them to straighten it out or I will." But White House officials are pushing back against the infighting narrative, saying healthy debate among policymakers is not only normal, it's good.
He understands that we have some pretty smart, talented individuals who are opinionated on a lot of subjects, but that our battles and our policy differences need to be behind closed doors.
Brett, the White House says we're overblowing this. Infighting happens all the time. We'll see if that actually ends up being the case. I should also point out tonight we're learning from an interview with the president with the Wall Street Journal that he offered the president of China, Xi Jinping, a more favorable trade deal in addition to a few more deals, we're told, if Beijing would help out the U.S. reel in the North Koreans. We'll see what that means as well. Back to you.
And not calling China a currency manipulator. That's is a big shift as well. Kevin Corke live on the North Lawn. Kevin, thank you.